In Star Wars Battlefront 2, you play as two generically named Star Wars female protagonists. Now don't go tumble on me just yet because I mentioned the word female like a white man using the N-word. It's just worth mentioning in case you, the viewer, wants to draw comparisons to another Mary Sue of Star Wars. Deep down, I was hoping this story would be good. We don't see much mainstream media from the Imperial side of the war, and this could be the closest game to Imperial Commando that we'd ever get. Instead, we get one mission and a tutorial as the Empire, which acts as our introduction to the boilerplate main characters. Now maybe it's just me, but I would have liked to have seen some real character come through when they watched the Death Star blow up. I know they're special ops and all, but it's as they say, Inferno Squad was put together to stop this from happening again, and yet they brush it off after 5 seconds. As I said, I know they're special ops, but that just seemed the biggest missed opportunity. When they get back to their ship after some boring space combat, you find out the Emperor is dead as the game gives you a short time skip. Next thing you know, the Empire is all of a sudden glassing planets Covenant style. Now first of all, this doesn't make much sense. Why would they be shitting up their own planets full of loyal Imperial citizens like this? This is how you cause a rebellion. In the first film, they were fucking destroying a planet because their leaders had a hand in the rebellion. But this is an Imperial occupied planet. It's entirely different. Then the fucking obvious plays out. The writers clearly think this is out of left field because it's framed to be some big reveal, but from the last few lines of dialogue, you can tell Hask, Del, and Urso, Verdio, Verso, Mamma Mia, Oh No, whatever the fuck the main character's name is, would all split up. You then end up on an on-rail, impossible-to-fail 80-80 section where you talk to your shipmaster, who happily tells you that she and the rest of the crew abandoned the Empire for you. The same Empire that pays them, trained them, housed them, and knows where their families are. The same Empire that's blown up a planet not too long ago. But don't worry, the straw that broke the camel's back was actually the glassing of this planet, which on the list of Empire atrocities is not at the top. After this, we're treated to one fan service mission after another, playing as the heroes from the original trilogy one by one, as Versio and Del meet them throughout gaps in the films, culminating in the fight from the Aftermath novel where you finally defeat Hask. He's been alive the whole time and comes back just to shit on your parade years later as an officer in the First Order. Leaving the game on a cliffhanger, Disney pretends you like their new stories as much as the old. I only played this game because I thought the story was done. Apparently not, because this new campaign added is pretty much just a demo of what's to come, which is to say, just the same shit as you've already been doing before, but as a different person in a different era. At least, I assume, because we're probably not getting that story until the next main entry of the Star Wars film, if we get it at all. Frankly, I don't want to gloss over the story in any more detail. There's literally nothing special about it. If you wanted something fun and original, just try Republic Commando. It does the squad dynamic much better, even knowing where the story's gonna end up in a game called Republic Commando, and yet it still maintains a more interesting story than this. This is why this game pissed me off. It had potential to be the spiritual successor to one of the best entries in the Star Wars franchise we've ever seen, since, I don't know, Battlefront 2. If I had to make a couple of slight changes to the story to make it somewhat more relatable, I'd probably have Del leave the squad with you and Hask tasked with tracking him down. In doing so, you can see the conflict in the protagonist grow and manifest, culminating in an ultimate showdown choice, Spec Ops: The Line style. I would happily swap out the stealth that has no impact on the game for a more refined squad combat system, and jack up the difficulty so you actually need to utilize your teammates. I went through every mission using a sniper as a CQB weapon, just no-scoping space Nazi craniums because the game is so damn easy. Speaking of enjoyable, gameplay. Why the fuck do story missions have out of bounds areas? Some of which are right next to walls already, shoehorning you into a map masquerading as something much grander in scale. Just feels cheap. I'm not a fan of this in multiplayer, but campaign is just stupid. There's so many more interesting ways you can go about an out of bounds issue. Rather than just a countdown timer, how about an insane amount of enemy spawn, or artillery, or a normal fucking wall? Or more interestingly, just have your NPCs remark on that you're going the wrong way, but you're free to explore because after all, this map is already made, it's a multiplayer map. This does apply to multiplayer as well. There are some really weird boundaries that would be fixed with better map design, or literally just moving the boundary about a foot out. However, I think this is a growing trend in most games of this genre now, and it doesn't just apply to Star Wars, so I'll leave it at that. The voice acting is hit or miss. It feels like they hired people who can do perfect impressions of lines from the movie, but given something that's not in the movie, the actors get lost. There is a fine line between an impressionist and an actor, and I feel they've hired impressionists over actors. On that note, obviously the clones are fucking spot on as always. Seriously, I recommend anyone watch the Clone Wars series. D. Bradley Baker is one of the most talented and dedicated voice actors I've ever seen. He treats every clone as a fundamentally different character in his performances. This is even more impressive when you realise there are some episodes of the Clone Wars that is voiced by literally no one but himself. You can pull almost any clone voice line from the Clone Wars and give it to a fan who's seen the show, and they could probably tell you who it is just on the inflections alone. The reason I'm making such a big deal out of this is because the characters here have helmets, which is a godsend, because the characters have lip syncing, so shit, it pulls you right out of the immersion. On the matter of audio, of course the music and sound design is spot on. However, they've had 40 years of resources to pull from, and none other than John fucking Williams. There is literally no music and voice volume sliders in the settings. Just thought I should bring that up. Seems like a bit of an oversight. Not the worst oversight from a DICE release. I'm sure the unresponsive states and 5-minute loading screens don't even make the top 25 for their list of bugs. Multiplayer? Well, what is there to say really? It's Battlefront 1. And they've only just introduced Geonosis. The over-the-top effects are kind of cool when they don't literally blind you. If you're epileptic, don't even launch this game. The amount of retina-burning special effects are enough to send an army of sequin-obsessed drag queens to hospital. People have been asking for more destruction. DICE interpreted that as to their health, not actually in-game. Despite repetitive game modes, mostly because no one plays the other variants, one-sided maps, poor choke points, and lack of variety, I still found myself going back for more. It's fun, not $60 fun, especially when a much better game of the same name is way more fun and is $6. One big missed opportunity and decent looking letdown later, we've got Battlefront 2. I could go into the insane real life issues such as the star cards and Disney threatening to pull the license, but I personally think most of this is behind the game. For now.